Hi, I'm Carrie.
I'm Jake.
And this is Love You Like Crazy. This is a podcast where we talk and rant about young adult books. What up, Jake?
Good question. Since there's a pandemic going on, pretty much nothing. What's up with you?
Gestures wildly at the everything and nothing that's going on in my life. I read a book, though.
Oh, yeah. So did I. This was a book. Well, it's a sequel to the last book we talked about. Darius the Great Deserves Better is this book. Published in August of last year.
My God, really?
Yep.
Oh, my. It's been a long time. It's like, how is that even possible? I feel like it just came out. But then, like, August of last year is months. Oh, my God. Okay. Anyway, I have no concept of time anymore. This is going to be the worst episode ever because I'm just like, I got nothing, y'all. I got nothing left in me. I'm a empty husk of a person.
Well, as empty husks go, though, pretty good.
Yeah, you're a pretty good shell. Good on you, Carrie.
Yeah.
I would say that this book could work as a standalone, but it is best to read the first one first.
Yeah.
You don't need to, but I certainly recommend it because it is an excellent book. This book is also excellent, but it's excellent in a different way. I loved it. I can't wait to talk about it.
If you don't read the first one first, then you won't cry as much probably. And what's the point of that?
I know, right? I mean, it's going to literally rip your heart out and feed it to you with some rose water and other delicious things.
Why do you have to make me hungry like that, Carrie?
Jeez, crazy. Hello, everybody. How are you? Who the hell is calling you at 10:19 at night? Who the hell is calling you?
No, that was the alarm telling me my tea's ready.
Oh, well, that part is good.
Yeah. Even if Darius wouldn't approve of this tea.
Darius would not approve of this tea, but you know what? I think Darius might have softened a little bit on his tea snobbery in this book.
Yeah, it seems like he's more in it for the fun rather than
Yeah, it's more the fun and the ritual and the way it makes him feel rather than being a complete and total D-bag about it. So I feel like if it made you happy, he might be like, it's not my jam, Jake, but go for it.
He might be silently judging. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning of the book, he might be more outwardly judging, but I think by the end of the book, he'd just be like, you know what, man, live and let live. So yeah, this book sort of picks up a little bit after Darius the Great is not okay. They're all back home, and Darius has been on the soccer team for a while. He has a part-time job and a boyfriend.
Last time we were kind of speculating as to his sexuality. And we also read the summary for this book, so we realized that our speculations were correct. But yeah, he's out to most people, but not all. And he's got a boyfriend named Landon.
And Landon will have things to say about Landon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have some different ideas about how we might talk about this book.
I would love to hear about them.
Okay, so let's start kind of big picture. So I think based on email and texting conversations, both of us liked the first book a bit better, although both of us also think that this book is very good. Is that accurate?
I would say that is accurate. I think the first book has a special kind of charm, and this book sort of picks up on that charm and takes it to new places. But of course, I'm going to prefer the first, but that doesn't mean I don't absolutely love the second for what it is. It's just different.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like part of the appeal of the first was the exploration of Iran, right?
Yeah.
That we're seeing it through Darius's eyes. We're getting his family connections there and everything. Whereas this takes place in the US. So it doesn't have that same kind of feel to it of learning about a new place.
But also, I mean, even though it takes place back here, Darius is sort of two worlds. And so we're getting this part of Darius that we really hadn't seen before. We saw a little bit of him at school, but not a lot. We saw a little bit of his time in the States, but not a lot. So we're getting even more of who he is and who he will be all the time, because he's not probably moving to Iran and is going to spend most of his life likely here.
And I think I don't know. I feel like, well, let's start with characters maybe. So we meet some people that we haven't met before in this one. And then we also spend some time with characters who were more bit players previously. So the boyfriend, Landon. What do you think about Landon?
I don't hate Landon. I think Landon is a good kid. I just think what my notes are is, not a bad person, just a bad fit for Darius.
Right.
The fact that they, he wants to go further with Darius and Darius is ready for it doesn't make him a bad person. It just means that they're not in the same place right now, and maybe they're just not a good fit, and that's okay. I think, some of the stuff that he does is kind and good. The fact that he wants to cook and do all these other things, and that's really nice. And he's not a bad boyfriend as first boyfriends go, but I mean, he's very first boyfriend material and not a great fit overall. That's sort of my overall feeling about him. I don't love him with Darius, but I don't know if I love anybody with Darius.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically my take also. I feel like I could see someone really taking against Landon because he is kind of pressuring, although not in any kind of an extreme or abusive way, but he is always very out there that he wants to have sex with Darius, and Darius has trouble saying that he isn't ready for it all the time. He does say it, but it's a bit of a struggle for him. It also sort of becomes clear towards the end that Landon likes Darius more than Darius likes Landon, at least romantically. And figuring that out is part of the journey of the book. And yeah, so I feel like Landon is not a bad guy, and he's really standing at the way that he helps out at the funeral and everything is really nice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're ultimately not a fit. I was curious whether you would think that or think more negatively or positively.
I don't think he's a bad guy. And I honestly, even though, yes, he wanted to go further with Darius, he wasn't mean about it or abusive about it. He was just this is a thing that's important to me. And it's okay that it's important to him. It's just also okay that it's not where Darius is. And that's why I was just he's not a bad guy. I can totally see where he's coming from. And I know why Darius is just maybe not that into him. And yeah, I think part of it is his journey of wait, the hot guy likes me and I don't have to like him just because he's the hot guy who likes me.
Right. And it's, working through those feelings is just a whole thing of but wait, if I like him liking me, then does that mean that I like him? And also if I, not very graphically described to whack off thinking about him, then what, but don't actually want to touch him in real life. What does that mean? And so on and so forth. It's both of them. I think it's one of the key things in this book is that they are both, teenagers with all of the hormones
and none of the talking skills.
Yeah.
But I think it was very realistically portrayed. I think their relationship wasn't it wasn't too drama. It wasn't too horn dog. It was just, a little awkward and pretty realistic overall.
Yeah. I feel like one of the things that this book is trying to get across to teens, and I think the last book too, although I think I was less aware of it when I read that book, is just sort of this idea that like there are a lot of things that you have to kind of deal with, and often they are not as bad as you expect them to be. Like it's worse dreading them than it is actually doing them. But even when they are pretty bad, you're usually better off. So like, his breakup with Landon after the prom, how like,
woof.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of rough stuff. There's a lot of emotions running high. There's a lot of stuff going on. But then they talk about it later, and it ultimately is okay. And it's better for them to have figured out that they weren't right for each other, and and to move on. And it's not the end of the world, right? And the conversation he has with his dad, like his dad, so his family is low on money because going to Iran is super expensive.
Yeah, and they were both like, out of town for, not just a week, but, many weeks on end, which means they're not earning income and their bills are piling up while they're gone. So now they got to make up for it.
So Darius's dad is an architect and is sort of on the road, like trying to get clients and so on, spending very little time at home, and also having kind of a depressive episode. And so Darius like talks to his dad about it a couple times and is like, are you having a depressive episode? And his father's like, yes, but it's not that bad, and I can get through. But Darius is super worried about him. And then he asks him about it again. And his dad's like, I'm dealing with it. Don't worry about it. I'm the parent here. I should be worrying about you, not vice versa. And then finally Darius is like, I really want to help. Anything I can do to help. Like, I'd rather help and have you be home more than to worry about you with you on the road. And his dad accepts that ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a difficult, or another example is like, his dad gives him a sex talk, not the first sex talk they've had eventually.
Yeah.
and neither of them enjoy this talk really.
No. The second one. I kind of don't enjoy it as a reader, but I get why it's happening. I'm like, oh, dude, this is too much for me.
But it's like he uses some of the strategy, like, his dad's like, look, if you're kissing a guy and he's trying to move his hand down your pants and you don't want to stop kissing, you can use your hands to, stuff like that. And Darius later does it. It's like, information Darius could use. Yeah. So I feel like that's one of the things is just that, like, getting over it, the initial dread of what a talk is going to be and the initial awkwardness. Ultimately, it's not going to be the end of the world.
No.
And I feel like in a lot of books, it kind of is, a lot of books sort of, what was that book where the heroine was named America?
Oh, God. The Selection?
The Selection. Yeah, that's right. I got you the coloring book.
Yeah, you sure did. Thanks for that, by the way.
You're welcome. Anyway, that's like a book where, everything is super dramatic and heightened.
I went for a walk and I slapped the prince, but now he loves me.
Yeah, that's how that works, I think. So anyway, I feel like reading the book, I was like, man, I know that there's a lot of dramatic thing, like there is a lot of emotions and drama and stuff, but it really feels not very dramatic compared to other books. And I think that's kind of the intent, is to show that like you can have these feelings, you can have these worries, but ultimately if you do the thing, often it won't be as bad as you think it's going to be.
Do you think it would be would he have had a different experience with these emotions if his parents were more typical YA parents instead of being like typical parents? Because typical YA parents are very different than, your average everyday.
Oh my God, Carrie, you just made me think of a thing.
I want to hear this thing.
So like YA parents are never there, basically, right?
100%. They're never there. And even when they are there, they're absent.
Right. And this is the opposite, isn't it?
It pretty much is. Even when the parents are absent, they know what the fuck is going on.
They know what's going on. And Darius like misses them and stuff,
Completely misses them. Completely. He's like, oh, I wish my parents were around. Because that's, even when you're a teenager and you're like, ugh, I don't like my parents anymore. you're still a kid who kind of doesn't want to be abandoned.
Yeah.
And most YA parents are like, I'm abandoning you without saying I'm abandoning you. I'm just not going to, know where you are. And if you turn into a werewolf, so be it.
Yeah. I can replace you with a cat.
The cat will give me less trouble.
Well, let's talk about the other. Well, I don't know. First of all, do you have anything else?
I mean, I don't have a lot to say about Landon. I think, also the fact that he had to work with Landon got to be kind of awkward. That whole like, oh, we're doing, these tea tastings. And of course, Landon's been doing this his whole life because his dad owns the tea shop. So Landon's, getting everything right and like making his dad super proud. And, Darius just like, I don't know, tastes like tea. I can taste the tea in this tea. Sure is tea. And so I feel like, yeah, I think that was like maybe not embarrassing really, but just kind of like, oh, we're not in the same place right now. And working with him had to have been weird, but then he wasn't working with him anymore. So I guess that worked itself out too.
Yeah. I mean, I think, right. He quits the job before they quit smooching. So
yes.
And Landon's dad, who owns the tea shop, the fancy tea shop, is very understanding about it. Which is another example of my little made up theme of like, you know what? It's not that bad. These conversations are awkward, but they're often not as bad as you expect.
Yeah, because everyone has their first job that they quit, and it's okay. You make it out to be a big deal. No one's going to be mad at you for quitting a freaking job, and it's going to be okay.
So, how do you feel about the other potential love interest in this book?
I don't know how I feel about this. So I don't dislike Chip Kuzmano either. But I think Chip Kuzmano's best friend is a bit of a chode. And that's got to be weird for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think so the best friend is Trent Bolger, who is a bully who has been bullying Darius for time out of mind, and is, I would say, like the one character in the book who is pretty one-dimensional. We sort of hear about his backstory a little bit, and Chip talks about him being a good friend, but we never see him doing anything that isn't just total assholery.
Yeah, I think, because we see Chip with his little, I guess his niece, and Trent's around, but I think Trent's mostly a one-dimensional dick face.
Since it's told from Darius's point of view, maybe that's just how Darius sees him. And obviously, and they never really hang out. Like Chip keeps inviting Darius to hang out with them, and Darius is like, I don't think so.
I mean, honestly, like if I were Darius, I would have done the same thing. Like no matter how much I like Chip, like I'd be just like, I don't know, because your friend's a douche, and how fun is that going to be for anybody? It's not going to be.
Yeah, it was hard to know exactly what to think about that. And I kind of, it's one of those things where like if the story were told from Chip's perspective, what would that be like? And it's a little bit hard to know just because Trent seems just so unredeemable a jerk. And, homophobic and always making trouble and just a terrible human being. But anyway, we weren't talking about him. We were talking about Chip. So speak more unto me of Cyprian Kuzmano.
I think he's a better match for Darius than Landon is, but I also don't know if he'd ultimately make a great boyfriend. I like the whole we need to be friends first. I think that was a really good approach for Darius. It's just like, nah, we gotta actually learn each other a little more before we decide if we even want to make a relationship out of this. But I like him. I mean, I liked him in the first book. He was, he tried to be helpful. And at the end of the first book, it was just like, oh, we missed you. And it's like, oh, there could be something here. And maybe there still is.
Yeah, I agree. I think, another thing that a different author might do differently would be to have them get together at the end, but they don't. And I liked that. I thought that was a really good choice, both narratively and for the characters in question.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm glad that they didn't get together at the end. I'm glad that the door is open, and I'm glad that they're really, I think they're going to be thoughtful about their next steps and not just like jump into anything, not because they don't find each other attractive or, but they really want to work on like being good people to themselves and each other first.
So like the Harry meets Sally thing.
No man can be friends with a woman that he finds attractive. He always wants to have sex with her.
So you're saying that a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive?
No, you pretty much want to nail him too.
Which, I mean, I say that the movie isn't that isn't the thesis of the movie. That's what one of the characters said when he's acting like an asshole early on. But there is kind of this idea of like, well, if there's two people and one is attracted to the other, that you can't be friends. And I appreciate that this book questions that,
because they don't do anything in the book. They're just like, yeah, we both think each other is attractive. Although, Chip did see Darius naked.
Well, yes, that caused a bit of a rift with Landon as well.
Might have.
And also a rift with Trent, because Chip told Trent about it apparently, and then Trent makes fun of Darius for having an uncircumcised penis,
which just goes right back to him being the Ayatollah in the first book, and that does not feel great.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is it with everyone talking about my junk?
Is that just what being a man is? That people always make fun of your penis? Maybe it is. That I will say that's not my experience, but not so far anyway.
I was going to say it's not yet your experience.
That's true. There's still time. Hopefully,
we're expecting there's still time for your penis to be mocked.
Hooray!
And of course, like this whole time, like he's trying to contact his best friend, and his best friend is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, Sohrab.
So Sohrab, knows that he's gay.
To be clear, he knows that that Darius is gay. Sohrab, as far as we know, is not gay himself.
No, we don't think I don't think so anyway. He could be. We've never really talked about it, but I don't think he is. I think, for him, they're just friends, and their friendship is a strong bond. But then Darius tries to contact him because he's working through some shit, and he's just like, what do I do? And he's not answering his calls. He's not around. And he's really nervous. He's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? How did I make him mad? Does he not love me anymore? And he's devastated.
Yeah, and he's also worried that maybe something's happened to him as well.
Because other people in his family, his dad was killed. And so he's like, oh shit, no one knows where he is. No one's telling me anything. I can't get in touch with him. This is the worst thing. This cannot be good.
And ultimately this is something that I don't know, this didn't entirely work for me, as it was presented as being like a happy thing that it turns out that his family has decided to become refugees in Turkey, I think, and hopefully to move to Canada, and who knows, but either way, a lot easier to get to Canada from wherever Darius lives. I forget.
I was going to say Seattle.
Yes, I think that's right. But being a refugee seems kind of terrifying to me. So I don't know.
That seems pretty horrifying. And the fact that like nobody even hinted to him what was going on in a way that he could at least be, pick up the what, I don't know, like how much things are, I'm assuming audio is probably pretty well monitored, but I'm like, nobody could like hold up a sign on screen or something. I don't know. The fact that everyone kept it a secret from him, because his grandmother knew where he was. that frustrated me a bit. Like, I get it. Like, you're going to keep your friends and your neighbors as safe as you can. But also, like, when your grandson is calling and being like, why, what is going on? Where is my best friend? Like, is he dead? And you're just like, I don't know.
Right. I don't remember exactly what she says, but
I don't remember either. But I mean, I know she didn't tell him where he was or what was going on. Just like, oh, sometimes friends don't talk for a while.
And the other thing that was a little weird, I guess Darius didn't talk to his parents about it, but his mom said, oh, I wondered if that might be the case. And I was like, well, maybe.
Well, why couldn't you have said something? But the mother is actually, I mean, she's so fucking busy in this book. She's working her ass off. And so the dad's parents come to town to sort of help around the house and help take care of the kids because she's busy. And Stephen, the dad, is off working and being depressed.
Yeah. And she, it bothers her. Several things bother her. Like she's, it's like there are a lot of complicated emotions because like she's glad that, like on some level, she's glad that Darius is out. She likes Landon a lot, but she's also bothered that he didn't come out to her before he came out to Sarab.
Yeah, and I also don't think she's 100% comfortable with his sexuality yet. I think she's still working her feelings about that, but she's not making it his problem, but I don't think she's there yet.
And then she's glad that he is a lot closer with his father than he was before the trip. But that also means that he's not as close to her. And that is difficult for her. And then she's just not around, she's so busy that she isn't around as much, and a lot of kind of the the things that she would normally do, like going to parents teachers conferences, like she just can't because she's too busy, and so she feels guilty about all that. And there are a few times where like Darius says that, so there's a whole thing going on with Darius's little sister, which we haven't talked about at all, Lele, where she since they came back from Iran, her two best friends have started treating her differently, calling her Lolly, and I think one of them called her a terrorist. So they're like, in some cases, actively bullying, but at least like they no longer want to be her friends. And so Darius at one point tells his mother this, and she's like, oh, so are you saying that we shouldn't have gone to Iran? And Darius is like, no, I'm not saying that at all. Like,
I'm saying these people are being dicks, and
but it's clear that she feels a lot of kind of guilt about things that are not under her control, but she feels like she should be able to shield her children from these things.
Well, in the first book, Darius was saying like, people have said that to me, and she's like, that's just what they say. They're wrong. Like, just let it roll off your back.
Yeah, I think at one point in this book, she says that she's been trying so hard to be white. And, it's one of these, okay, so, so the grandmothers,
let's get to them.
So I felt super dumb, because like they were mentioned in the last book, that Darius's father had two mothers, and I was kind of trying to figure it out in my mind of like, well, let's see, this book takes place now, and when was gay marriage legalized, but like the answer to all this is that
one of the moms is trans,
right? And I don't know, I didn't think of that, but I totally didn't.
And it could, I mean, you don't even have to do like mental gymnastics. It could just be like one of the moms was married to a dude at one point and they got divorced and now he's got two moms. Like that would also be like a normal thing. So there are lots of ways that Stephen Kellner could have two moms.
Right. I didn't worry about it too much or anything, but this particular answer to that was not one that I had thought of, which speaks ill of me in some way, I'm sure. But regardless, So it's interesting and I think realistic that Darius is reluctant to come out to his family, even though his family already includes gay, trans, queer members that seem to be accepted.
One thing I like about the grandmothers, and it has nothing really to do with them, but it has to do with Darius's relationship to them, is that he doesn't like immediately bond with them in the same way he did with Babu and Mamu. It was just like, oh yeah, these are my grandparents. They've always been around. Like I love them, but like, I could take them or leave them. They're fine. And I like that it wasn't just like, oh, you're gay, I'm gay. Let's be, we're best friends because we're gay. And you can just edit that out because I sound terrible. But what I mean is...
No, I mean, he wants that. He kind of wants that to be the case.
He kind of does. But also at the same time, they're just like, we fought that fight. Like, leave me alone, kid.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that, like, it's not like an immediate, like, mirror of his relationship with getting to spend time with Mamu and Babu, where it was like, like Mamu is like his person forever. Like they are tight till the day they die. The Kellners, they're like, we like you just fine. We're not a real feeling people.
Yeah. We're German.
We're Germans. We get sad sometimes, but we swallow that and just keep going.
We kind of think that we're bad for your father's mental health, so we're going to leave now.
And they're not wrong either. They're not great for his mental health. And I appreciate that, they're not trying to smother him. And I liked that part of their relationship, that, it didn't become like, it wasn't the same love he has for his other grandparents. And I don't know, I guess it makes the relationship with Mamu and Babu that much more special.
It makes it, Darius hasn't come out to Mamu at the beginning of the book, and he does eventually, but it's like really pretty close to the end. And she's super fine with it.
Because she loves him, and she's like, okay, are you happy? Yep. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Love you.
Do you have a boyfriend? Not anymore. Okay. You'll find someone. What a nice lady.
I know. I just like, could you be my grandmother? Damn. Not that my grandmother wasn't a nice lady. My new grandmother was a friggin' hilarious, nice, weird lady.
Oh man, I can tell you stories about my grandparents, but I won't right now. Oof.
I don't know. So anyway, I liked that part of the relationship, that it was just like, they're pretty standoffish, and they don't want to like go to Pride with you.
Although at the end they indicate maybe they will, but it's like, it's a real strong maybe,
Yeah, it's like that's a load bearing maybe.
Yeah. And they don't go to his soccer games. And when they do, they want all sorts of information about a character on the other team. Or a player.
A player.
I don't know. My problem. Yeah.
I don't know how to sports.
But they also they do have, they talk to Darius about when Oma came out. On the reread, a significant thing early on in the book is that Darius's dad always calls Oma Linda. It says he always calls her by her first name, which is significant when you know that she's trans, right?
It's like, well, I can't call you dad anymore, but I've already got a mom, so what do I call you? He landed on Linda, and I guess that works for him. But I guess that's why I had originally thought it was just like she was a stepmom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was like, oh, it's just, Mom and Linda's the stepmom, and hadn't even thought twice about it until that reveal. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of things happen in this book, and yet it's just a book about, I don't know, Darius learning a lot more about himself and about what he wants and doesn't want in life, and who he wants to be, and the sort of people he wants to surround himself with.
So I have a question, but before I get to the question, are there any other characters you want to talk about?
I mean, do we mention Babu?
Yeah, well, that was kind of my question was, I believe both of us cried while reading this book.
Like a fucking baby. Like, even though you knew it was going to happen. I mean, he had brain cancer in the book 1. So you knew, like, oh, he's going downhill. Of course, he's gonna pass at some point in this book. But I wasn't ready.
Right. So you know it's coming. But then, like, you turn the page and it's like, Darius's mom comes to his room and says, and it's after they've kind of had a sort of intense talk. And she's like, I just got off the phone with Babu. And you're like, oh shit. And then you turn the page and it says, Babu's dead. And they're like, oh shit. Like,
yep.
I knew it was coming, but I am not prepared.
I was not prepared. And, and I think it's a testament to how well this book is written, just how much we care about the characters. We want everything to be okay for Darius, even though, Darius the Great is not okay. But we want everything to turn out okay. And we care so much about these relationships. And it hurt to read.
There's the funeral where Landon helps out. And this is like one of the cases where Darius's mom is kind of like, so there's some people here who are kind of conservative.
They're from the old city.
And, at Darius basically like, could not give 2 fucks, I would say, at this point in the book.
Yeah. He's just like, my grandfather is dead. I don't care about your feelings. My grandfather is dead.
Right. So she is supportive, but it seems pretty clear that she has kind of complex feelings about all that.
Well, yeah, because, even more than that, her dad is dead.
Yeah, also true.
It's like, so she's like, don't get in my shit right now because my dad is dead. So they're both like, but I am. And neither of them are wrong. It's just that in this instance, it's hard.
And then all the things that happen after it, like I think the conversation with his dad where he's like, stay with us. The conversation with his grandmothers about like grandma, Melanie Kellner, sort of talks about how it was difficult for her when Linda came out as trans, because then she had to sort of think about her own sexuality in a new way, since she had always considered herself straight. And now she was attracted to a woman. Like they're just like a bunch of kind of intense things that happen. And I cried for a lot of it because that's what I do.
And that's great.
But yeah, and I wonder how that would hit if you hadn't read the first book.
I don't know if it would have hit as hard because you don't have the same like relationship where, he knew his grandfather, but only on the computer. And then they meet and it's sort of awkward because he's like, I don't really know this guy. But then, after being there for a while, he gets over the sort of initial awkwardness of like, I know this man, but I don't know this man. He's my grandfather, but I don't know how to talk to him. Like pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things, like, and he grew to really love him and especially his grandmother. And just like, I think if you hadn't sort of gone on that journey with him, like it wouldn't have been as impactful.
Yeah. I feel like we pretty much talked about this book.
I think we pretty much did too. I think, he plays soccer now and that's cool. And his sister is still pretty cool overall, except now her friends suck balls.
But now she has new friends because she's been put into the gifted program.
Yep, because the mom didn't want to put her in. Was that?
Well, it was so... She gets into a fight with her previous best friends because one of them calls her a terrorist.
And fuck that.
So she gets in trouble for starting a fight. So there's a parent-teachers conference, which Darius goes to because his mom can't with, I think, one grandparent. I don't remember. And so Darius is just like, so Lele's classmates are racist and they're making her life hell and someone should probably do something about it. And the teacher is like, I think that the problem is that Lele is bored and should be put in the gifted program.
And he's like, well, that is true also, but not instead of.
And so like he talks to Lele about it and is like, look, clearly this is bullshit, but on the other hand, I joined the soccer team, and it turns out that having a bunch of people who you have something in common with, who are sort of on your side, is actually kind of great. And maybe this is an opportunity to get something like that for yourself. So, with some reluctance, she gives it a try, and it seems like it's going well at the end. It's like I say, it's like a book that doesn't keep jerking his characters around in a way that a lot of books do,
I know.
Like, you come up with a solution and often it works. It's amazing. It's like real life, sort of.
Sort of.
Not always. I feel like this is a good book for people of an age to read.
Well, I think it's a good book for anyone to read because I think it is a good book. One thing that sort of struck me a lot is, Darius sort of dogs on his own body a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like, you got two dudes like fawning all over you. You're probably fine.
Yeah, no, he has a lot of kind of self-esteem problems, and he worries about things that he doesn't really need to worry about, as every teen does.
Which just made it feel even more realistic. But also, I'm just like, bro, I don't know. I like this book. I like both of them. I like the first one more. I like the second one for lots of different reasons. I think they are both good. You should read both of them. Bye.
I will have one other thing to say, which I think is a nice little writing thing, which is I think in the first 2 pages, we get a very strong indication that Landon and Darius's relationship is doomed. Darius gets a haircut for the first time in like years, apparently.
Oh, yes.
And he likes the haircut, but he thinks his ears stick out too much. And Landon is like, I love your new haircut. It looks so great. You look so great. And he says, I don't know, like, I feel like I look like a Ferengi. And Landon's like, what's a Ferengi?
Oh, no.
I guess we don't know if Chip watches Star Trek.
We can only hope. And if he doesn't, he'd probably be into like giving it a shot. Although we don't know if Darius has ever tried to watch it with Landon or not.
Right. Like traditionally, it's kind of been a thing that he does with his dad, but it seems like he's kind of opening that up as well.
Because the book ends with him, watching Star Trek with the family. That's nice.
There's like a really kind of poignant and sad moment where his mom is like, do you want to watch an episode of Star Trek with me? And he is like so shocked. He doesn't know what to say because she's never expressed any interest in Star Trek. And then before he can get his shit together, she's like, no, never mind. I know it's your thing with your dad. Don't forget I said anything. And she leaves. And he's like, oh, but I really wanted to watch Star Trek with my mom. That would have been so nice. Oh, poor mom. Poor Darius.
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't write down what book we're watching next, but I know watching.
Jesus Christ.
I need more tea. I didn't write down what book we're reading next, but I know that it's one that you read recently.
It is Legendborn. It's magic, black girl magic, and it takes place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Sweet.
At UNC Chapel Hill, where I used to work. Very cool. Very well written, very good book. Love it. And the fact that I know like a lot of what they're talking about, like location wise, was nice. I'm not sure how it's going to translate for someone who doesn't know the campus well. But I don't think it will be a problem. I think it's just a really good book. And it just so happens that it takes place at UNC. It just so happens that like some of the secret society stuff is real adjacent.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to reading it.
I think it's going to be a good one. I mean, I read it and I loved it. And I think it's going to be a good one to talk about because there's a lot that happens in a different way than happens in this book. And I think we're going to probably rant a lot more.
And do you want to do another Sabrina before then?
I think we should because we haven't been able to do, the book reading, y'all, it's been hard to read books. I don't know about you, but this pandemic has gotten me to a point where my brain, like at the end of my work day, which is also the end of like my son's school day, which is at the end of like everything, I don't want to do. And so I just kind of sit there and like stare at my phone or something for hours until I just fall asleep. Like I don't know how to do anything else anymore. And so reading has been really hard. But this book was totally good. And so, yes, I think TV I can do.
Yeah. So we'll do that.
Do you want to do another watch along?
I do. The last one was super fun.
It was super fun. We should do that again.
Yes. I kind of forget how we did it, but watch Twitter at LoveYAPod, and I'll tweet out details when we do one of these things.
And if you join, you get to like I will you'll just there's a lot of me dogging on shit and a lot of me saying very inappropriate things. So if you're into that, like come on and chat with me.
For sure. I am very into all of those things. And very cool. So God, is there anything? Oh, there are a couple of things. So we're recording this on March 16th. So, it's been a year of pandemic, or, longer, arguably, but it's been a year since the U.S. at least started taking it seriously.
Oh, wait, it took it seriously?
Well, in some ways.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But what's great?
What is great?
It's also the 6-year anniversary of our first episode.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
I don't know.
We've been doing this for 6 years?
6 years.
Fucking hell, good on us.
Look at us keeping a project going and everything.
Our podcast is in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, we don't always have, regular episodes or anything, but, I'm going to enjoy doing this for as long as you are, so let's just keep doing it.
It's a deal. You know why?
Why?
Because I love you like crazy.
Fuck yes.
Give me a call when you get back. Hey there.
Hey.
LoveYALikeCrazy.com.
God, you're a dork.
Well, right back at you.
Thank you.